for shared power design with the Washington State Office of Equity. You are at the fourth session for the community compensation live Q&A sessions. We are recording this event because we want to make sure that people who weren't able to attend this session can access the material. And if you're like me, you may need to hear the material more than once or receive the material more than once. So it'll be there for you to reference, and I'll let you know where that is. The Office of Equity is committed to hosting accessible events that promote belonging, justice, dignity, honor, and respect. So the language and communication services being provided today include Communication Access Real-Time Translation, or CART. And Teresa is our CART captioner, and the link, we'll provide the link. To use CART, click on the live transcription CC icon at the bottom of the screen next to the reactions icon, and then click show subtitle. We are also providing a link in the chat, putting it there right now. If you would like to see the captions in paragraph form in a separate screen, captions can be enlarged in settings and picked up and moved to a different location on your screen with your cursor. We also have ASL. The name of our ASL interpreters are Jackie and Jay. They are spotlit on the screen right now. And as we share material, you can split the screen so that you can see the interpreters better if you need interpretation. And then at the end of this session, we will have a Q&A session. So you can participate at that time by raising your the hand button using the reactions icon. You can turn on your video, unmute and speak, and we'll also pause and invite any ASL users that may be here the opportunity to ask questions, and also those joining by phone. So when you do speak, we ask that one person communicate at a time, state your name before communicating, speak at a steady pace to support our captioning and ASL interpreting. And then thank you for your participation and support. And we look forward to this time with you. So I'm going to share my screen. And start the presentation. Not that one. All right, and can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we are here for the Community Compensation Guidelines live question and answer session. This is the fourth and final live session that we provided this month. Today, we will cover how to find the guidelines, and we'll have a brief review of the guidelines, and then a question and answer portion at the end. So for the first thing, how to access the guidelines. So you must be connected to the internet because the guidelines are on our webpage. In the address bar, you'll type equity.wa.gov and press the enter key. You'll select the People tab and then select Community Compensation Guidelines in the subheader. So we're going to take a couple minutes right now, and I'm going to go through accessing the guidelines with you. Okay, so here in the address bar, equity.wa.gov, enter. And here's the home page for the Office of Equity. You'll hit the People tab here. And then towards the middle of the page is the Community Compensation Guidelines tab. You'll select that. And then here will be all of the subtitles and sections for the guidelines, opening with the purpose and some definitions that will help you do your work. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back to the presentation. Okay. So we're going to start this portion of the next portion with the intent. The legislature finds that equitable public policy discussions should include individuals directly impacted by that policy. In order to do so, the legislature supports removing barriers to that participation. The legislature finds that asking community members with lower financial means to volunteer their time and expertise, while state employees and representatives of advocacy organizations receive compensation from their respective agency or organization for their time and experience, ultimately hinders full and open public participation. As a result, the legislature finds that removing financial barriers for those individuals fosters increased access to government and enriches public policy discussions and decisions, ultimately leading to more equitable and sustainable policy outcomes. So whenever you have questions about how you're going to implement this process or something new that comes up, please come back to the intent. This is not a public assistance program. This is not for folks who can prove they have a hardship. Public policy discussions should involve the individuals who are being or have been impacted by that policy or subject matter. By embracing co-creation, we advance a reality that people are the experts of their own lives and are partners in the government decisions that impact them. The intent of these guidelines is to remove barriers to participation in government actions, discussions, and decision-making, and to recognize and value the expertise community members contribute to state government work groups. For the sustained success of promoting equitable policy development, state agencies must establish, sustain, and grow relational partnerships. Moving from a transactional and extractive culture to a relational one is critical to developing the trust needed to meet the unique challenges of the 21st century. These guidelines are a living document for state agency guidance. Revisions will occur to be responsive to community feedback, state agency input, and emerging research. So some best practices. Timely payments. The agency should establish the entire compensation process before work group members are invited to participate so that they can be paid in a timely manner. This means agency staff from accounting, budget, policy, and other involved departments should understand their role in the community compensation process. State employees do not receive delayed pay for their work, and community members should not receive delayed stipends and reimbursements for their participation. When you provide timely payments, it minimizes the need for work group members to front time, money, or other resources to support their participation. When possible, cover costs in advance, like for lodging, transportation, and maybe meals. You can see the accessibility section in our website for recommendations that may forestall the need for reimbursements. Community members as experts. Historically, government has often functioned in the please mute yourself. Historically, government has often functioned in a paternalistic manner, making decisions without partnering and engaging with the people who are most impacted. This has not always fostered positive community outcomes. To change this, we must partner with community members in decision-making. Community members are the experts in their own lived experience and know best what they need to achieve autonomy over their lives and thrive. Community members who give their time and energy to share their expertise and perspectives provide an invaluable lens into the inner workings of our systems and have critical insights into what must change to achieve better program outcomes. How to identify community members? State agencies should avoid repeatedly partnering with the same individuals on work groups and participation in other community engagement activities. Each one of Washington's over 7 million residents should be given the opportunity to participate in work groups to achieve a more representative government that works for everyone. Relying on the same group of individuals for input is to the detriment of equitable policy development and outcomes. One of the most effective ways a state agency can solicit participation in a work group or other engagement activity is to ask for the assistance of organizations they have worked with, who have developed trusting relationships with historically underrepresented communities. Agencies should continue to grow their network of community organizations and proactively look for emergent or previously unknown organizations active within a given community. Be mindful of organizations who may work with or on behalf of a population and claim lived experience status, when in fact their work is adjacent, not direct, lived experience. When seeking to partner and contract with specific demographics, seek by and for organizations that have been established by the people and for the people most impacted. Creating an application process for service on a work group, rather than simply soliciting recommendations from agency staff and leadership, could be another effective option. This could be true for agencies who are new to community engagement. An application could also open the door to applicants who may be interested, but their lived experience or existence is not known to organizational leadership. Keep applications simple. The goal is to increase access, not add barriers. See the templates and resources section on our website for an application example. Communication. Communication is critical in establishing, growing, and maintaining relationships with workgroup members. Agencies should clearly communicate early and often about what workgroup members can expect in terms of the compensation process, the amount, frequency, timing, methods available. Not doing so undermines trust with community members and may cause more harm, particularly for low-income workgroup members who could put the funds to use in their household. Support. Agency staff should be available to support community members, to welcome them and create an environment of belonging, answer questions about requesting payments and reimbursement, and troubleshooting problems as they arise. Our processes are complicated. Please be available to support community members through the process of obtaining their statewide vendor number or understanding legislation, for example. Provide agency staff, the person or persons they'll be working with direct contact information in advance so they know who to contact when support is needed. Consider offering training for members on how the Public Records Act impacts their privacy and availability of their written correspondence in the event a request is filed. Consider developing and providing an onboarding packet for workgroup members. This packet would contain, in plain language, information about the agency, the project, applicable laws and policies to the agency, like confidentiality, public disclosure, non-discrimination, how to request accessibility supports such as language interpretation or hardware, and compensation and reimbursement instructions. Accessibility. Agencies should proactively inquire about workgroup members' individual needs and offer appropriate accommodations. Accessibility should be included in an agency's budget so that accommodations can be made to eliminate barriers to workgroup participation. Planning around members' needs may mitigate their need for future reimbursements and will ensure the best conditions for effective participation and mutual respect. On our website, we have prompts with recommendations about access to technology, transportation, meeting facilitation, in-person access, and resources for creating accessible meetings and events. Relational versus transactional or extractive. Have you ever experienced an interaction that made you feel used? Tit for tat. It doesn't necessarily feel good, does it? And it doesn't always feel like you got an equal or even equitable share. We must move away from transactional and extractive interactions. We must move towards working in relationships with others. This will require us to have flexible agendas and dedicate significant time to relationship building. It's the only way true group work and co-creation can occur. Building relationships builds trust. Trust allows for work to happen outside of the main group and is still able to move forward. Relational work also allows tough conversations and decisions to occur, and the group and the work can move forward together. If you're not building relationships, at some point, most often, you will get stuck. Eligibility. Eligible candidates for compensation or reimbursement must either have lived experience or qualify as low income, provided that the individuals are not otherwise compensated for their attendance at meetings. For the legal considerations, you can visit our website to review our recommendations about public records, immigration status, youth volunteers, and requirements to issue a 1099. You can also visit the federal poverty guidelines linked on this slide to find the amounts per family size. To fully understand eligibility, let's go over some important terms. Lived experience. So lived experience is defined as direct personal experience in the subject matter being addressed by the board, commission, council, committee, or other similar group. Low income is an individual whose income is not more than 400% of the federal poverty level adjusted for family size, and then otherwise compensated. The work group member is already being paid for their time participating on the work group by another party. So I would just want to note that lived experience, it depends on the topic. So there is no set definition for lived experience. And if it's your first time understanding what lived experience is, you may want to consult with your leadership, your EDI or DEI staff, or your assistant attorney generals. So eligibility. Eligible candidates for compensation or reimbursement must either have lived experience, so lived experience relevant to the material or topics being discussed, or qualify as low income, adjusted for family size, 400% adjusted for family size, provided that the individuals are not otherwise compensated for their attendance at meetings. So lived experience or low income. And I want to make sure that's clear that if someone is participating based on their lived experience, they do not have to qualify, and really you can't make them qualify as low income. And neither of those groups of individuals who are eligible can already be receiving compensation. Remember, going back to the intent is that people who are participating in work groups and are not being paid for their participation like everyone else is. Eligible activities. Eligible workgroup members may be paid for the following: attending official meetings and performing statutorily prescribed duties approved by the chair or chairs of the workgroup. So some examples of official meetings could include full workgroup meetings, and then subgroup, task force, or subcommittee meetings, community feedback sessions, and travel time. And then examples of statutorily prescribed duties could include reviewing and commenting on a plan, producing or reviewing written content such as research or reports, meeting preparation, traveling to and attending an outreach meeting, conference or training, and other one-time events. No matter what you decide to include, these activities should be discussed and then decided before work begins, and the workgroup leader should make sure that every workgroup member understands. Also, leave yourself flexible that if something arises, as often happens, where it's not expected, and the group needs to respond to that, allow yourself the flexibility to include new activities or meetings so that people can be valued and paid for their time. The work group chair, co-chair, or lead may also want to consult with their agencies assigned as Assistant Attorney General on how this provision may apply to their work group. If the chair, co-chair, or lead is not a Washington State employee, they should communicate with agency staff before consulting with the agency AAG. And I would say follow your agency's process for legal consultation, whatever that may be. So the recommended stipend allowance amounts, this is for ongoing participation. So it could be meeting more than a few times or even more than once. So the University of Washington publishes a self-sufficiency standard every 3 years as a measure of income adequacy for different households across Washington state. Some state agencies currently use UW's self-sufficiency calculator to better understand how they can support clients. In the self-sufficiency standard report for 2020, UW determined the cost of living for one adult, one preschooler, and one school-age child, a family of 3, in the most expensive county, King County East, to be $92,661, or about $45 per hour. Thus, the compensation schedule is set at $45 per hour. And note that a living wage may be, and is in this case, higher than federal or local minimum wage standards. So this is a per hour amount, and there's a ceiling in 5793 of $200 for stipends per day. So this goes by increments of $45 every hour up to anything over 4 hours, which would then hit that ceiling of $200 per hour. So starting at $45 per 1 hour, $90 for 2 hours, $135 for 3 hours, 180 for 4, and then anything over 4 is going to be $200 per hour. So for one-time events, agencies may create temporary ad hoc work groups to provide compensation for participation in one-time low barrier engagement opportunities such as surveys, interviews, written feedback requests, or other types of engagement that do not require a long-term commitment and or are low intensity efforts. Compensation in one-time events offers an incentive for participation and demonstrates the value of community members' time and expertise. So the recommended compensation for one-time events is a flat rate. For one-time events up to and including 1 hour, it's $25. And the thinking behind the $25 is mostly for things like surveys. You may have community members complete that take like 15 minutes or so to complete. You could also just pay the flat rate of $100, which is the next line. So it's because it's activities, one-time activities and events that are up to 4 hours. So that includes that first hour too. So you could just do the flat rate of $100 because it fits anything up to 4 hours. Some agencies may even use the hourly rate from the previous slide and pay folks for their participation based on that. We do suggest a flat rate though for one-time events because then you don't have to worry if the event goes a little longer than expected, as sometimes does occur. And you can bring the gift card with the flat rate amount and provide it to volunteers on the spot. So recommendations for reimbursement. Childcare, up to $25 per hour for the first child and up to $50 per 24-hour cycle or per day for each additional child. And for adult care, up to $34 per hour for the first adult, and then up to $50 per 24-hour cycle or per day for each additional adult. Community members can either submit the bill or the invoice received or confirmation of payment from the provider for child or adult care services. Be as flexible as possible with what constitutes a bill, invoice, or confirmation of payment. It could be a traditional receipt, a handwritten and signed note, screenshots of money transfer through apps like Cash App or Venmo to make it as easy as possible for community members to receive reimbursement. Agencies, boards, and commissions interested in providing on-site childcare for meetings should seek guidance from their assigned Assistant Attorney General to ensure that state purchased or state coordinated childcare adheres to the appropriate health and safety standards for the children in care. Please do not create processes to verify how many children the community member has or what sort of care facility or person they're using, or etc. Our job is to reimburse for care. As long as we receive the bill, invoice, or receipt per policy, we are covered by audit standards. For lodging, meals, and mileage, reimbursements can be made as well, in addition to the compensation offered. When overnight stays are required, agencies should try to book and pay for the hotel rooms on behalf of the workgroup members, like we would for state employees, to lessen the financial burden. The per diem rates are available by the link on this slide at the Office of Financial Management, OFM's website. Reimbursement is in addition to stipends. So there's a ceiling of $200 per day for stipends. There's no ceiling for reimbursements up to the rates we are providing. Those are the ceiling, the rates that we provide up to. So what does this look like in real life? So example, a person has 3 children and the event lasts 4 hours. The ceiling for childcare reimbursement would be $100 for the first child, because child 1 is $25 per hour. So 25 times 4 is $100, plus $50 for the second child, because any additional children have a flat rate of $50 per day, and then $50 for the third child, for a total of $200. Note, this example does not include differences that can arise in hours for travel to drop and pick up children. So that could extend. So it could be a 5-hour event for that person because it took them an hour, 30 minutes each way to drop their little children off. Also, it's highly likely that you'll receive requests for different amounts for reimbursement from different community members because they're relying on different people for care and they have different agreements with those people. So all you want to make sure you have is the bill or receipt and get that from them, even if they're different from each other, probably will be, and then just reimburse up to the ceiling that you've established, or that is established by the rates that we discussed on the previous slide. Payment options. So we have several different options, and we're really excited. We worked with OFM and the Treasurer's Office to develop these options. The first two are probably the most common. They're the ones that require the statewide vendor number, the state warrant or a check, and direct deposit. So those both, again, require statewide vendor numbers. The check requires the person to have a mailing address, and then the direct deposit requires the person to have a bank account. For a prepaid card like EBT, dispersing payment by prepaid card is a good option for unbanked and underbanked populations. U.S. banks' prepaid cards are Visa branded and are accepted anywhere that accepts Visa. Recipients have several options to use the card and or get cash free of charge, including to-the-penny withdrawals at most banks. Recipients receive the same fraud protections against unauthorized withdrawals to prepaid cards as traditional bank accounts. So the only thing is the person would need a mailing address to mail the card, unless you're working with a third-party administrator and they'll pick the card up from them. Payments through a local bank account like Imprest. Agencies may open an account outside the Treasury with approval from OFM. The agency would fund and replenish the account without using a statewide vendor number. Agency would be responsible for all fees associated with the account and products purchased, which is the same thing for the prepaid card. You're responsible for all those fees. The account would facilitate issuing payments direct from the account and access to new same-day payment products such as real-time payments, Zelle, Venmo, or Cash App. The gift cards, so you can purchase gift cards. I think the only requirement, which is on our website, is that the recipient cannot incur fees. And mostly people use the gift cards for those same-day events or one-time events. Third-party administrators. As not specifically authorized by 5793, an agency may want to consult with the Department of Enterprise Services, OFM, and their assigned AHE when contacting a third-party administrator for the first time. You may opt to contract with a community organization or private company to compensate community members. As there is currently no statewide contract for this, agencies would follow the request for proposal RFP process to select an organization. You may also opt to include the payment responsibility and appropriate budgeting for payments administration as part of a larger scope of work under contract with nonprofit community organizations or private businesses. This may be for organizations or businesses that you're working with to facilitate work groups, conduct community engagement, provide technical assistance, and then they just pay the community members as well. Max, did you have a question for me?
I do, and I don't know where the right spot is anymore, so I'll just throw it out there. What we've heard from some organizations or from some of the agencies is, I think this is sort of like what has happened in, you might be familiar with this back with the poverty reduction work group, where you might have like a community-based organization who the state has paid the CBO, and the CBO then extends the funding to the individuals. But part of the challenge there is that oftentimes, or in some instances, those community-based organizations are taking kind of an administrative cut to do that. So the money isn't, all of the funds are not going to that individual.
Yep.
In those instances, and maybe you might look back at me and be like, that's OFM's decision. That answer is totally acceptable. But what are you thinking about reimbursement in those scenarios where there is a pass-through and that organization that's the pass-through is taking some of the funding?
Yeah, that's a good question, Max. This is Megan Matthews, and you would need to factor in for that administrative cost into your budget. So it wouldn't be the community member that has to then take a lower rate. It would be you that has to increase the funding to that organization for the administration of the community compensation. That's a good question.
So let's kind of throw it out there as an example. Let's say $45 goes to the individual, but the organization might take $5 of that to make it work. The agency needs to then spend 50 to that CBO so that they keep the 5, the individual gets the 45, and OFM would only cover the 45
For
in
reimbursement.
for reimbursement purposes. So the
Correct.
agency essentially has to eat the $5 overhead for the community-based organization. Is that fair?
That's fair. This
Great.
is Megan, and that's fair because some agencies may opt for this because in working through the compensation process, they have a lot of barriers, or they're working with community members who are vulnerable and want to remain anonymous to the state agency. And so this community organization is doing is a contractor in essence. So you're contracting with them, they're a contractor. And so you're then paying them for their fees, but that is not what's being paid to community members. So that'd be two different like buckets.
Perfect. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you, Max. Benefit impact. As allowable by federal and state law, state agencies will minimize to the greatest extent possible the impact of stipends and reimbursements on public assistance eligibility and benefit amounts. So let's process this for a second. A community member participates in a state work group and gives their time, their expertise, and their effort to help us do better work. We pay that community member under the intent of the legislature to remove barriers and attain equitable outcomes. That community member reports their income to a Washington State agency public assistance program and their benefits are reduced. So a person helping us then is basically punished by us for their assistance because we're all one Washington, right? Does that really make sense? It doesn't. So our goal really should be to eliminate benefit impact. Now, I will say that Washington State agencies showed up and by and large met and exceeded that mandate. They figured out a way to eliminate benefit impact for most of the programs. This is really exciting because I don't think it's ever been done before. So our fellow colleagues really deserve a round of applause for that. My round of applause. So the next slides are screenshots from our website that show the program and the benefit impact analysis. And I'll kind of quickly go through them so you can see. So we have a lot of programs from Commerce, some programs from DCYF and DOH, DSHS, Department of Veterans Affairs, ESD, the Healthcare Authority, OSPI, and then Social Security Administration. So I want to call this one out. Social Security is a federal agency, and they provided a decision that these payments must be reported, but that will exclude them from income for SSI purposes. And that is like amazing. So we're really excited about that one. Also, if you know a public assistance program that is not included on this list, you can view it on our website. Please email me because we really want to make sure this is a complete list. Agency reporting. So agencies are required. Agencies exercising their authority to provide stipends must report to the Washington State Office of Equity by August 30th, 2023 and August 30th, 2024 for the fiscal years 2023 and 2024 respectively. So our goal is to make it as easy as possible for agencies to comply with their mandate to report to the Office of Equity. We developed a couple of forms to help agencies meet their mandate. This process is optional for agencies to use. You are welcome to create your own internal process and then report to us per statute. So the first form is an agency reporting form, and the next one is the Class 1 volunteer demographic and geographic information form. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can show you those forms right now. Okay, so this is the first one, the agency reporting form. And so you can see, you can view, we've got you can select agency, work group, which fiscal year you're reporting for, the purpose of the work group, how many work group members there are, and then the information about the reporting. So how many members did you pay stipends to? What was the hourly amount? And what was the average time to pay out a request for compensation from the date requested? And then the total reimbursements, that's allowances, total reimbursements distributed. And then a brief analysis. So these questions are in statute. And so we're asking that you complete this form. If you use this process, complete this form after the completion of each work group where stipends are paid on Class 1 work groups, or once or twice a year for groups that are ongoing. And then the next one is the is the Class 1 volunteer demographic and geographic information form. Uh-oh. Sorry, I hit the wrong screen. Okay, so this is the volunteer demographic and geographic information form. So agencies are mandated to report this information because the legislature wants to know who's benefiting from these stipends. And so agencies, to comply with this mandate, agencies can forward the link to this form to community members who are participating on their work groups and ask that community members complete the form. So though completion can't be mandatory or tied to their ability to receive compensation, you might want to let them know that this information will be used to inform the legislature on who's receiving stipends and benefiting from this program. It'd be helpful if community members provided their demographic and geographic information. It's also an anonymous reporting form, so it doesn't ask for names, phone numbers, birthdays, addresses, other identifying information, and the information comes straight to the Office of Equity. So this one has the agency, the person it volunteered with, the work group, which was the following year, and that they received a stipend, and then it has the demographic information, what race they identify with, or are identified with, or treated as, their ethnicity, their Native American Indian or Alaska Native, sexual identity, gender identity, disability, citizenship, generation, housing status, and some information about their community, and then the income. So by using these forms, agencies can meet the legislative mandate for reporting to the Office of Equity. Again, though, we're providing these forms to you as an option for you to use. We just wanted to make the process as easy as possible for you all, but you are welcome to create your own internal process and then report to us according to what's in 5793 and mandated. We have a section on our website for templates and resources. They have links to all of the forms that are provided here, as well as this slide deck. And so as we're recording this event, this information session, we're going to provide a recording on the website as well. The slide deck has the notes. So everything that I'm saying, it has the notes. And then the form is the video will be there for those who need to receive information a different way. So Max Brown, I want to turn it back over to you, please, to discuss the $250,000.
You bet. So I get to go from asking the questions to providing some of the answers, hopefully. So my name is Max Brown. I'm with the Office of Financial Management. What we kind of wanted to share with you is that there is a $250,000 that is available for reimbursements for the work that you all are doing with these Class 1 work groups. Now, this is where it gets a little bit important. We are doing this as a reimbursement. So agencies do need to provide the stipend to their customers first and then ask for the reimbursement after. Our next deadline for requests will be April 20th. You can complete the form that is linked in this presentation, and you can send that to OFM-MI Lived Experience Compensation at ofm.wa.gov. That's the email address right there. And if you have questions, feel free to use that email as well, and we will check it for you. And I think one of the tricky points that people have kind of mentioned is what happens if I ask for reimbursement, but there isn't funding available? What happens then? And that's kind of the challenge of this funding is we didn't quite know. I actually had a conversation earlier with some of our budget folks. When we had first looked at this, it was kind of all over the map. There was, well, we only need 50,000. Well, we need 5 million, and $250,000 was the number that was requested. It is all still available for people to use for reimbursement. But if we are to receive over that number in requests, we will have to start making some decisions about who does or who is made whole and who might not be receiving funds. But to date, we have 0 full requests. We have 1 deadline that already came and went. So we do encourage you, because it is a sign to the legislature that we are doing this work, that we will be doing this work, that it matters, and that we can use this funding to advance the good work of making sure that all voices are represented, regardless of your capacity and financial, your financial status to participate. So please request the funding. And if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or email me, or I know there's a little Q&A at the end of today's conversation as well. Anything else there, Megan?
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so Megan Matthews here. There's a resources slide that has links, the links that I mentioned today, and those that are on our website as well. These links will provide information on the self-sufficiency standard, the RCW that stemmed from 5793, the guidelines, and how to make accessible meetings and events. Special thanks. So I just really need to call out that these guidelines would not be what they are today if it wasn't for the work of so many, and many that aren't even mentioned on the slide, including community who showed up and showed out for the 5793 legislation and to get this going. So thanks to the original bill sponsors, all the legislature, the attorneys general, the governor's policy team, and the governor for passing and signing the bill into law. I want to thank BDS. They're the organization that helped me to write the guidelines and then supported me through the feedback and engagement period where we got all the agency feedback to really make the guidelines more robust. So thanks to all the agencies as well. And last but definitely not least, thanks to all of the project team members who helped to create this document. This is the work of across several agencies, community organizations, and community people that participated to come and make these guidelines what they are today. So thank you to all of you. So I really want to end with this, that please keep the intent, back to the first slide, keep the intent in mind. And I want to be clear that the Office of Equity does not want to receive complaints from community members about how agencies have created unnecessary barriers for compensation. If requirements haven't been added in statute or in these guidelines, it's not because we didn't think about it or that we didn't want to address it. It's really because we didn't want to create unnecessary barriers, and we believe people are the experts of their own lives. This is new, relational partnership is new, co-creation is new, and partnering and decision-making is new. I've been a state employee for 15 years. I know that each of us get up in the morning wanting to serve people and help people. So I know we can do this. We can make this change and do better for all Washingtonians. So thank you, and I will now take your questions. You can raise your virtual hand. And I'm going to stop the spotlight so I can view everyone. And if you need interpreters, please pin them on your screen.